You ever notice politicians walk around in these slick, custom-tailored suits? Dark blue, black, sometimes a classy pinstripe, like they're going in for a mob wedding? Always nice and clean, not a wrinkle in sight. But nobody ever asks the real question: who paid for that suit? No? You think these guys picked it up off the rack at Men's Warehouse after clipping a coupon? No, that suit was bought with a little thing called a campaign donations, which is just a polite way of saying legalized bribery. They're already walking advertisements, we just can't see the logos. That's why I say forget the mystery, forget the charade, forget the phony baloney about a public service. If these guys are already bought and paid for by corporations, let's stop pretending. Slap the logos on the front, the back, the sleeves, the pants, the shoes, the ties, the cufflinks. Put them everywhere. If NASCAR drivers can do it, why not senators? At least the drivers admit who owns their ass. They don't hide it. You know right away, this guy's turning left at 200 miles an hour because Tide laundry detergent and Home Depot said it's a good idea. It's honest. That's transparency. Politicians, they'll give you speeches about other American people, the freedom of our children's future. Meanwhile, there's a lobbyist in the back of the room stroking a check the size of a small country's budget. And that speech you just heard? Yeah, it was probably ghostwritten by Pfizer or ExxonMobil. But you wouldn't know because the guy's suit is clean. No patches, no stickers, no neon signs, just a smug grin and a flag pin the size of a roach. If politicians had to wear NASCAR jackets, suddenly you'd know who the hell you're actually voting for. Picture it. The president walks out to give the State of the Union. He's got a giant McDonald's arch across the chest, Shell Oil on the shoulders, Raytheon on the back, and a brought to you by Amazon Prime embroidered down the leg of his trousers. That's honesty. That's the system in plain view. You don't need a conspiracy theory, you don't need to watch the news, you just look at the logos. Oh, that's why he vetoed student loan forgiveness. Bank of America's on his ass cheek. And you know what? It would save time, a lot of time. Right now, people spend hours watching news coverage trying to decode which politician is loyal to which industry. Endless debates, pundits, analysts, think tanks. All that brain power wasted trying to figure out why a senator from Kentucky keeps voting against clean water. But if you had the logos, boom. Mystery solved. Oh, look, he's got Nestle stamped across his chest. Of course he doesn't care about clean water. Next problem, and it would make politics entertaining again. Think about campaign season. Right now it's boring. Just endless ads about a character and the family values. But imagine two candidates debating on stage, one in a jacket covered in big pharma logos, the other looking like he just stepped out of a NASCAR pit stop with Pepsi, AT&T, and Lockheed Martin all over him. Suddenly you're not watching politics, you're watching a fashion show mixed with professional wrestling. C-SPAN would be must. CTV. The ratings would go through the roof. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's debate is brought to you by Doritos and Johnson & Johnson. Get ready for some half-truths. And it would be funnier than hell, too. Imagine a senator trying to sound sincere about helping the little guy, while there's a Walmart logo the size of Texas on his back. We're fighting for the working class. Sure you are, buddy. Turn around. The only working class you're fighting for are the people stocking shelves at 2 a.m. for minimum wage, and you're fighting to keep them there forever. You'd also know the hierarchy of corruption. The bigger the patch, the more money they got, just like NASCAR. The driver with the big Coca-Cola patch on the hood? Yeah, that's his sugar daddy. The little guy on the ankle with a patch that says Uncle Joe's Muffler Shop? He threw in $50, so the guy slapped it on as a courtesy. Same deal with politicians. The senator with the giant Chevron logo across the chest, that's the one who just killed a renewable energy bill. The congresswoman with Raytheon across her ass? Guess who's voting for the next war? And you could track their careers with the logos, like trading cards. Collect them all. You'd see a politician start off with a small jacket, a couple of patches, maybe Dunkin' Donuts, a local car dealership. But then by the time they hit the Senate, boom, Amazon, Boeing, Goldman Sachs. You watch the logos grow, and you know exactly when their souls shriveled up and died. And the best part? You'd never have to listen to their bullshit again. The second a politician opens his mouth, you just look at the jacket. Family value. Yeah, right? You've got a Pornhub patch on your sleeve. Well, we're tough on crime. There's a Goldman Sachs logo on your tie. We're defending the Constitution. Sure you are, buddy. ExxonMobil owns your zipper. You don't even need to argue. The hypocrisy is stitched into the fabric. Hell, it could even be competitive. You think elections are stressful now? Imagine election night as a sponsorship showdown. Wolf Blitzer on CNN screaming, and folks, it's official. Big oil beats big tech in a landslide. Chevron takes the White House with help from Coca-Cola and Monsanto. Better luck next time, Google. Now that's democracy, and don't tell me it's unrealistic. What's unrealistic is pretending these people are pure, noble public servants when every bill they write has a corporate signature at the bottom. The jacket would just cut out the middleman. No more lies, no more slogans. Just one big flashing Budweiser patch telling you who's really running the show. So yeah, let's cut the crap. Politicians are already walking billboards, but they've been hiding the fine print. Put the logos on the outside where we can all see them. Make it honest, make it obvious, and make it impossible to ignore. And if nothing else, at least then you'll know who bought your democracy wholesale. And it sure as hell wasn't you. See, the whole point of making politicians wear NASCAR jackets isn't just a comedy. Although, let's be honest, that alone is worth it. The real beauty is that, for once, you'd have honesty right in your face. You wouldn't need to dig through 600-page campaign finance reports written in the kind of legal jargon that could put a hummingbird into a coma. You wouldn't need to play detective trying to figure out why the same senator who cries about a freedom is pushing a law that lets Facebook track your dreams while you sleep. No, you just look at the guy's jacket and there it is. Meta stitched right above his nipple. That's called honesty, baby. Honesty you can actually read without a magnifying glass or a team of lawyers. Right now, everything in politics is backwards. Politicians tell you one thing, then do another. They talk about other people while secretly serving the donors. They say they're independent, but every move they make has somebody's hand shoved up their ass working the strings. They're basically meat puppets in silk ties. And they get away with it because there's no label on them. You buy a box of cereal, it's got the nutrition facts. You know exactly what's in it: sugar, corn syrup, red dye hash, 40. You'll buy a bottle of shampoo, it tells you how many chemicals you're about to rub into your scalp. But when you'll buy a politician with your vote, what do you get? A smiling liar in a suit. No label, no truth, no transparency. If shampoo has to list its poisons, shouldn't a senator? And don't tell me they're public servants. Public servants don't have packed with names like Americans for Responsible Freedom in the Future for Our Families. You ever notice these groups always have the same nonsense names? They sound like they were picked out of a hat at Hallmark. But if you look deeper, it turns out Americans for Responsible Freedom is just 3 billionaires and a credit card company laundering money like it's a spin cycle. That's the system. All lies, all camouflage. Which is why the jackets would be perfect. No more camouflage, you see the truth in bright neon stitching. Think of the irony. Politicians talk about honesty all the time. I'll bring honesty back to Washington. That's every campaign, right? They say it with the same sincerity as a used car salesman. Oh. And you know what? It works because Americans love a nice slogan, but slogans are empty calories. They're political Twinkies. Look good on the outside, but inside they're just whipped air and cancer cream. With jackets, no one gets away with that garbage. You can't stand on stage with Marlboro patches all over your arms and claim to care about public health. You can't. The hypocrisy is embroidered. It's woven right into the fabric. And here's the thing, it would change how people vote. You know how voters are. Half the country doesn't even read past a headline. They're scrolling, they're skimming, they're distracted. You think they're going to read about campaign contributions? Please. But if they see a big fat Monsanto logo across a politician's chest, even the guy who spends his whole life watching cat videos on YouTube will get it. He'll be like, oh, so that's the dude making sure pesticides are in my breakfast cereal? Boom. That's more education in 3 seconds than you'd get from an entire semester of civics class. And think of the debates. Politicians would finally have to own their lies in real time. Right now, they just deflect and distract. But if you're on stage screaming about a climate change action, and there's a chevron patch glistening under the lights, you're cooked. You can't hide it. Everyone sees it. The audience laughs, the opponent points it out, and the whole charade comes crashing down. It's accountability stitched, glued, ironed on, invisible. Of course, the media would try to spin it. They'd be like, don't focus on the logos. Focus on the message. Yeah, right. That's like telling someone not to stare at a clown on fire riding a unicycle. The logos are the message. And for once, the message would actually be clear. You'd know what you're voting for, not some faker man of the people, but a corporate mascot. Just like when you buy Frosted Flakes, you know you're supporting Tony the Tiger. When you vote for a senator covered in Pepsi logos, congratulations, you're sending Tony the politician to Congress. And you know what's funny? Some people would still defend it. That's the best part. Even with the logos plastered everywhere, there'd still be folks saying, oh no, he really cares about us. You could have a guy with a Raytheon patch the size of Kansas on his back, and somebody in the front row would still yell, he's fighting for freedom. No, sweetheart. He's fighting for the defense budget, and he's losing. But at least the rest of us wouldn't have to play along anymore. It might even humble the politicians, too. You ever see how smug they are? Always standing tall, looking noble, like they're auditioning for a marble statue. Well, nothing knocks down the ego faster than having to walk out in public with a giant Tampax patch on your chest, or a bright pink Hello Kitty sponsorship on your sleeve. Suddenly, Mr. Dignity looks like a go-kart driver at a county fair. That's the honesty we deserve. Humiliating, undeniable honesty. And maybe, just maybe, it would force them to act differently. You never know. If you've got Walmart plastered across your ass, maybe you don't push for another tax break that screws workers. Because now people can connect the dots instantly. Wait a second, he's giving Walmart another subsidy, and oh look, there's Walmart's name on his pants. The connection is undeniable. You can't lie your way out of a logo. It's permanent. It's stitched in, it doesn't wash out, but the real payoff? The comedy. The comedy of watching these liars forced into honesty by something as stupid and simple as a jacket. That's the poetry of it. After centuries of corruption, deception, and manipulation, the truth finally comes out. Not through courage, not through integrity, but through embroidery. Nah, and isn't that fitting? That's America. We can't solve corruption with morality or laws, but goddammit, we can solve it with polyester and thread. So yeah, if you want honesty in politics, forget speeches, forget slogans, forget watchdog groups. Just slap some logos on the bastards and let the world laugh at the truth for once. Because if they're gonna sell us out anyway, the least they can do is be honest about who's buying. Now, if we're gonna make these politicians wear NASCAR jackets, let's go all the way with it. Don't stop halfway. Don't just sew the logos on and call it a day. No. Let's turn politics into the full-blown spectator sport it already is. Because let's be honest, that's what it is right now anyway, only without the honesty or the entertainment. People don't watch politics because they care about policy. They watch it the way they watch a car crash, slow motion. A lot of screaming, maybe a little fire, and then everybody argues about whose fault it was. That's politics. And since they've already got the lying, the cheating and the wrecks, why not add the uniforms and treat it like a proper sport? At least then we'd get some laughs out of the apocalypse. Picture this. Campaign debates is full on NASCAR races. You don't just watch two guys at podiums sweating through canned answers. No, you have them run laps around a stage while answering questions. Let's see how tough on crimey you sound when you're huffing and puffing through mile 3. They'd need pit crews too. Imagine an aide running out with a towel, splashing water on a candidate's face, changing out his tie like a tire change. And he's back out on the stage, folks. 2 seconds faster than the last guy's wardrobe malfunction. The commentators would lose their minds. And just like NASCAR, we'd finally admit that people aren't there for the substance. They're there for the crashes. Nobody's tuning into a debate to hear a nuanced breakdown of tax brackets. They're waiting for somebody to slip up, scream, you're a liar. And then watch Twitter melt down for 2 days. That's the wreck. That's the fiery spin-out that gets the ratings. And if we're being honest, it's the only reason people watch. So let's lean into it. Put ramps on the stage. Add smoke machines. Hell, throw a banana peel or two out there. If a senator can't dodge a banana peel, do you really trust him to dodge a lobbyist? And let's not pretend people wouldn't eat this up. America loves sports. Doesn't matter what kind, football, baseball, pickleball, cornhole, people will watch anything if there's a scoreboard. You give politics a scoreboard, suddenly everybody's engaged. Oh, look, Senator Dipshit is down 12 points after failing to answer the healthcare question and crashing into a lectern. But he might make a comeback if the NRA pit crew gets him fueled up in time. Ooh, that's democracy with entertainment value. That's democracy people actually show up for. And you know what would make it even better? Betting, because let's face it, Americans only pay attention when there's money on the line. You let people place bets on a debate and suddenly the entire country is tuned in. Vegas odds, Governor Baldy is at 5-1 for saying something racist before the third question. Now that's civic engagement. And at least then the corruption would be fun for everybody. Right now, only the politicians get rich. With betting, the people finally get a slice of the pie. And the sponsors, oh, they'd love it. Right now, their money goes into shadowy pack and boring ads nobody watches. But in this system, their logo's on the jacket, their brand is on TV every time a politician wipes sweat off his forehead, and boom, instant exposure. Imagine Bud Light sponsoring a filibuster. This obstruction of democracy brought to you by Bud Light, because nothing says watered down like your senator. At least then we'd know who to thank for the gridlock. And the crowd, oh, the crowd would be part of it too. You ever notice how political rallies already look like low-budget sporting events? People waving signs, chanting slogans, wearing hats with stupid phrases. They're halfway to tailgating already. Throw in some nachos, a beer stand, maybe a halftime show with a marching band, and you've got yourself a full stadium experience. People would love it. And the best part, the politicians would have to play along because they'd need the attention. They're like teenagers on TikTok, desperate for views. If putting on a mascot suit gets them trending, they'll do it. And you know they will. Well, let's talk about the real entertainment value, the scandals. In sports, a scandal is performance-enhancing drugs. In politics, the whole job is performance-enhancing bullshit. So just imagine the doping reports. Breaking news. Senator Johnson tested positive for 3 pack checks and a gallon of lobbyist wine. He's disqualified from the ethics race. The scandal coverage alone would keep CNN in business for another century. And let's not forget the instant replay. How good would that be? Every time a politician dodges a question, boom, instant replay from 3 angles. Let's take another look, folks. You can see right here at the 0.15 mark, he completely ignores the healthcare question and pivots straight to terrorism. That's a classic move, but you hate to see it. You'd never miss a lie again. Technology would finally be used for good. It would also change the way politicians behave. You ever notice how in sports players will risk their bodies just to make the highlight real? Well, politicians would do the same thing. They'd go for insane stunts just to trend. One guy might pull a backflip before answering a foreign policy question. Another might light his podium on fire just to prove he's as serious about climate change. And the crowd would go nuts. And isn't that what politics is anyway? A bunch of stunts to keep people watching. So let's stop pretending and give them the ramps, the pyrotechnics, the cheerleaders, the whole circus. And when they screw up, and they will, that's the real payoff. A car crash in NASCAR is terrifying, but in politics, it's hilarious. You get to watch a guy self-destruct live on stage, then spend the next week pretending he didn't. I didn't say that, you misheard. No, buddy. We saw it on the Jumbotron. We watched the slow-motion replay. You can't gaslight instant replay. And here's the kicker. People would finally admit what politics really is. Not noble, not serious, not some sacred institution. It's a game. A rigged, corrupt, money-soaked game. And if it's a game, then let's at least call it what it is and make it entertaining. Because right now, it's the worst of both worlds. Boring and corrupt. At least NASCAR politics would be fun to watch while the country falls apart. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, the spectacle would teach people something. You see a guy plastered in Exxon logos crashing through a debate stage and losing points for every lie. Maybe it clicks. Maybe people finally realize, oh, these guys aren't heroes. They're just clowns in costumes. And that realization alone would be worth it. Because once you see the game for what it is, you stop believing the bullshit. So yeah, if politics is already a circus, let's give the clowns some jackets, a racetrack, and a scoreboard. At least then, when they wreck the country, we can enjoy the show. If we're serious about politicians wearing NASCAR jackets, then let's cut the crap and take it all the way. Don't just slap a couple logos on their chest like they're at a little league game. No, I want full transparency. I want them covered head to toe in corporate sponsors like walking billboards. You shouldn't need a PhD in political science or a 10-year subscription to the Washington Post to figure out who owns your senator. You should be able to tell by looking at his damn suit. You walk into Congress, you glance around the room, and you know immediately who's bought and paid for. And paid for. Oh, that guy's with Pfizer, that one's with Amazon, and that guy over there looks like a human NASCAR hood for Lockheed Martin. It should be that obvious. It should be that obvious. Because let's be real, right now it's a guessing game. Who's pulling the strings? Who's writing the laws that no one reads before signing? It's all shadowy and hidden behind words like campaign contributions and political action committees. No, let's put the truth right on their chest. If you're bought by Coca-Cola, you wear the Coke logo. No. If you're in the pocket of Exxon, you get a giant Exxon patch right across your ass. That way, when they stand up to give a speech about energy independence, you know damn well they're reading straight off the oil company's script. And don't stop at logos. No, we should rank them too. Like athletes with stats. I want a politician's batting average for corruption right there on the sleeve. The Senator Blowhard. 87% voting alignment with corporate donors, lifetime record of 42 lobbyist-funded vacations, and a personal best of 3 ethics violations in a single session. That's the kind of stat sheet that should be on the screen when they talk. At least then the people at home know the score. Right now, all we get is fluff about a family values and a working for the people. Meanwhile, their jacket should say, a working for Walmart since 2003. And imagine how easy debates would be. You wouldn't even have to listen to what they say. You'd just scan the jacket. If one guy's got Monsanto across his chest and the other guy's got Whole Foods, you already know what they're gonna argue about. It'd save everybody time. Skip the words, go straight to the logos. It's like looking at a cereal box. You don't have to read the ingredients to know it's all sugar. And you know who would love this? The companies. Because right now, they're already sponsoring these clowns, but they don't get the recognition. At least NASCAR drivers give them airtime. Politicians take the money, screw the people, and the brand gets nothing but a tax deduction. With jackets, it's advertising. Chevron doesn't just own your senator, they get to show him off on TV. This climate-denying rant brought to you by Chevron. Chevron, we deny science so you don't have to. That's the kind of branding you can't buy? Well, actually you can, that's the point. And don't even tell me it would make politicians feel embarrassed. Embarrassed? These people don't have shame. If they did, they wouldn't be politicians. They'd wear those jackets proudly. You give a guy a chance to strut around with Goldman Sachs across his chest, he'll do it, he'll brag about it. He'll spin it like it's patriotic. I'm not bought, I'm sponsored. And that sponsorship is what keeps this democracy running. They'd turn selling out into a badge of honor. And you know what? Fine. At least we'd know. At least the lying would be honest. Now, if we're doing it right, the logo should match the level of influence. That means the big spenders get the prime real estate. Chest, back, arms, that's for the billion-dollar boys. Pharmaceutical companies, weapons manufacturers, big tech, they get the premium spots, the smaller donors. They're down by the cuffs. Maybe a little Etsy logo on the ankle. You want bigger placement? Pay up. That's how it works in sports, that's how it works in politics, so let's just admit it. And let's add some live updates too. Why not? We live in the age of instant information. Every time a lobbyist drops a check, a new logo appears on the jacket. Real-time updates. You'd be watching C-SPAN and boom, your senator suddenly has a giant Facebook logo across his chest mid-sentence. Oh, look, Zuckerberg bought him between questions. That's transparency. That's democracy in the 21st century. And think about voting. Right now, politicians pretend they're voting based on their conscience or the will of the people or some higher principle, but with sponsorship logos, you'd know the truth. Why did Senator Cornball vote against lowering prescription drug prices? Just look at the 20 Pfizer patches sewn into his lapel. Question answered. Debate over. Next, and here's the best part, it would make politics funnier. Politics is already a joke, but it's a bad joke. Hey, it's like watching amateur improv where everyone's lying and nobody's funny. But put a guy in a suit covered in logos while he screams about freedom. That's comedy gold. You'd have a senator delivering a fiery speech about national security with a big McDonald's logo bouncing on his chest. Nothing says safety like McNuggets, folks. That's what we've been missing. A little levity in our collapse. You could even make it competitive. Who's the most bought politician? Who's the least? We could have leaderboards, weekly updates. This week in corruption, Senator Greasy jumps to #1 with a record-breaking 17 new oil logos, overtaking Senator Slimeball, who slipped after losing 2 major hedge funds. It's like fantasy football, but with treason, and people would follow it religiously. And here's where it really gets interesting. Once people see the logos, once it's undeniable, you'd think maybe